My name's Charles Wheeler. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Greenbacker. I'm excited to talk to you about some recent hires that we have made in our organization as we attack some of the opportunities we see ahead of us in 2024 and beyond. Greenbacker is a funds management platform and an independent power producing company managing approximately $3.6 billion worth of assets. And we have grown from an organization where our first investment was $1 million to an organization of that scale. Along the way, we've added people and investments that are suitable for an organization of our scale. During 2023, we saw the need to make some changes of personnel to prepare us for the next stage of our growth. And so I'm delighted to introduce to you today three recent additions to our team. Chris Smith, our Chief Financial Officer, Dan De Boer, our Head of Investments in Infrastructure, and Carl Weatherley-White, the Head of Capital Markets. So those three individuals were added to our bench this year in order to build the organization for the future. They bring with them a wealth of experience and capabilities that we will need as we grow the organization.
To start off, would love to hear about your prior experience before joining Greenbacker. Chris, do you want to share about that?
Sure. So for the last 20 plus years, I've been involved in all aspects of the energy investment spectrum. And for the last 10 years, I've really been focused on sustainable financing and investment platforms like Greenbacker. Previously, I was Managing Director and Treasurer of Hannon Armstrong. I joined shortly after the IPO, and I led it through a period of growth to about $5 billion of total on-balance sheet and off-balance sheet assets. And then I led a similar situated company through the IPO and listing on the New York Stock Exchange. And then before Greenbacker, I was a partner, a founder, and CFO of a sustainably focused middle market private equity fund with about $500 million of capital. Previously to that, I had stints at Merrill Lynch and also had been CFO of an energy asset development firm.
Carl, would you like to share?
So like Chris, I've been in the energy markets for many years. For about 20 years, I was in the financing business around project finance. And I really started with independent power companies that were doing non-renewable energy financing. And at that time, wind power started to come into the market, followed by solar. So I was able to participate in a lot of the industry's understanding of those asset classes, which gave me a lot of experience in financing around renewables. About 10 years ago, I got attracted to development, and I joined a development company, very entrepreneurial. And then I had a series of similar positions, all in solar, and recently was given the opportunity to join Greenbacker to support our financing objectives, which is very exciting.
And I know also in that development experience was where you worked with Dan.
Yes, Dan and I worked together at the same solar development company in New York for 3 years. That was about 5 years ago. We each went a separate way and then now have had the opportunity to come back together, which is really helpful, particularly for a new team coming together. I'd also known Chris in the past, and so we have some shared history and we understand each other, which is great joining a company like this.
Yeah, the renewable energy space is the smallest large industry out there. It's obviously an incredibly growing part of our energy landscape, but the faces in the industry have kind of been the same for the last 15, 20 years. The first ever tax equity deal that I got exposed to when I first got into renewable energy, Carl was actually on the other side of it. So there's been lots of paths weaving in and out as we've kind of all come together here at Greenbacker.
So with that, Dan, could you share a little bit more about your journey in the space and your prior experience?
Really, for the last 16 years, have been in the energy transition private equity sector. Coming out of banking, this was an absolute focus of mine. Renewable energy investing, energy transition investing has been a passion and kind of a missions work of my career thus far. I started off working at a group called D.E. Shaw Group. They were a multi-strat hedge fund, which had a big focus and one of the only focuses in the mid-aughts in the renewable energy sector. Joined them and helped them launch a couple of platforms within the renewable energy space, particularly in onshore and offshore wind. From there, we launched a group called D.E. Shaw Renewable Investments that was focused on real asset investing. and continue to proceed from there with stops at Blackstone Energy Partners, helping them launch a platform in the sector called Onyx Renewable Partners, and then getting into project development, as Carl said, with the group Vivo Power that we worked with. For the last 5 years, I was at Allianz Capital Partners leading energy transition investing in the Americas, and then recently joined the team here.
I think that's a good segue. Would love to hear what brought you to Greenbacker.
Greenbacker has real hands-on operational expertise, whether it's our construction management team, our procurement team on the equipment side, our ongoing asset management. We're able to solve real-world problems within power and energy transition that a lot of other investors can't. So it allows us to bring a value-add strategy that I find incredibly interesting and exciting. And then I'd say the other big factor is the investors that we have within our funds. Most investors in the energy transition space happen to be institutions. We spend a lot of time really focused on high net worth individuals, family offices, kind of democratizing private market investing to a wide swath of investors. And I find that both a great opportunity to bring new opportunities to investors, but also a really strong, steady source of capital for the projects that we invest in.
And Carl, I know you also play a huge role in placing financing for the projects that Dan just referenced. Could you share a little bit more about your role at Greenbacker and what attracted you to that?
Well, Greenbacker has staked out a very unique and sustainable position in the market. It's one of the few infrastructure companies that have targeted renewable energy and energy transition. And as Dan said, opening up opportunity for investors to participate. My focus is to bring more lenders, tax equity, and institutional investors to help support the projects that Greenbacker is acquiring and building and operating. And there aren't many opportunities for those types of investors to access this point in the market. The Greenbacker team has developed this platform for over 10 years. So we've got scale, track record, operational experience, and I think importantly, have positioned themselves to participate in the growth that we see in the market. So it's got that wonderful sort of point where it's got enough scale to matter. It's got the foundation for future growth, and it's set up to be a steward and really a fiduciary of the investors that we are attracting. And that's really fun, actually, in this market.
And Chris, what attracted you to take on the CFO role at Greenbacker?
Well, I was really attracted to the really big flexible toolkit that Greenbacker has built. So to echo what Dan and Carl said, the enviable position in the marketplace that it has, the reputation of the people and the work that it's done, it's very, very hard to replicate. So that was really exciting to me, and just see it as a great platform to really grow upon and doing a lot of very exciting things. I think the other thing is we're really focused on here building an ecosystem with a lot of momentum to it. The collection of how we've put things together is very, very unique. Dan touched on it. Our ability to act as an operator is very rare. And we have a great group of back office folks, construction and asset operations folks that really have their hands on the assets and are able to offer a lot of capability that others just don't have and can't have. And I think that that's a real source of alpha and excellence within the way that we've positioned things.
I would say also that there is a unique aspect, and it kind of brings it all together, that we do have evergreen structures. We're in these assets for the long term. And it forces us and allows us to be true good stewards of these assets. We're not trying to execute some sort of short-term financial engineering. We are not trying to focus on how do we maximize profits in the short term. We're focused on how do we create value for all of our stakeholders over a very long time frame. And for assets like ours that tend to be pretty long dated, that is, I think, a very valuable perspective to take.